All right, let's go. Welcome to eCommerce Reality episode 21, where we talk all things e-commerce, Shopify, Facebook ads, Google ads, Snapchat ads, if ever, or any other ads, and of course, CRO, email marketing, because all of them matter when we are talking about e-commerce. And in this one, we will talk about revenue and profit, because there's a huge difference between the two. So many people, and you might see this very often online, screenshots of 100K, 1 million, 10 million, and usually that's revenue. So how much people actually pay, right? But the thing is that in e-commerce, physical products, that's not exactly what you actually get on the other side when it comes to profit, what you get in your pocket. So I want us to talk about this because it's a very important subject. And most people out there, even me included, in the past especially, I didn't know exactly what is the difference or correlation. Although, to be fair, I knew the difference. I just didn't know the exact breakdown. And let's start off with an example here, right? Because you might be selling something online. We know how many people are selling right now online physical products. This is how a bunch of products have been created, and that's amazing, right? For everyone, because when there are more brands, more competition, you get better products, faster products out there, right? Because you know that if you don't get a product out there, your competition will, right? So it's actually very good to have competition, to have a free market. As we know, that's why the US has blown up over the, let's say, century. And if we look at brands right now, right? A lot of them were built just by starting off small on Shopify, getting a few orders, right? Because that's what you need to do in the beginning. Get a few orders in, get those 5-star reviews, and then slowly or faster start to grow. Because in the beginning, right, you're trying to sell something. Let me look around. I didn't prepare for this with an exact example, just so we can do it like right now, right on the spot. So let's say that you sell this mouse, right? So you sell this mouse. I guess no branding, although yeah, we do have branding on it. So let's say that you would put on it HP, which comes from Harry. Let's think. Harry Philip, right? That's your brand, Harry Philip. Sorry for Harry, sorry for Philip if we're butchering this. So you're selling this for, let's say, $50 because it's a good mouse, right? It's a good mouse. That's the revenue. So someone will pay you $50. That's what you get in your Shopify dashboard. However, let's look. Is it the same as profit? Not really. And that's because you have to actually manufacture this, right? You actually need to pay someone some amount to actually make this, right? So let's really put this here. Let's put the microphone with the magnet here just so we can use our hands more, right? So give me a second. All right, so we have this, right? The product. You're paying, someone is paying for it, right? And then you have to pay someone, a supplier, to actually manufacture this. You are probably not going to make it yourself in your house, right? Especially for a mouse. It's more technical. For some things, you might be able to, but for something usually that requires manufacturing, you will probably go to China, at least right now before the tariffs. So basically someone buys it for $50, then you have to go and actually pay for this. Let's say maybe this cost you, let's try to think of a price, $25. That could be one option. So it might have cost you $25, or we can go with $10. Let's go with $10. That means that someone paid $50, it cost you $10. We deduct that and we are left with $40. That's the gross profit. So after that, let's not forget that you have to pay Shopify for actually hosting your site. You have to pay some fees. depending on what card they used, or maybe PayPal, right? Even higher fees. Stripe, 2-3%, right? So you have those additional fees. Then you have to pay shipping, right? So we have multiple things that you actually need to pay. Let's say shipping, $5, product, $10. Then all the fees and so on, let's say maybe $10, although it's more if we think that you sell just one product, right? It's Shopify is definitely over $40, $100 per month, depending on the plan that you have. So basically, as you can see, costs add up. So this means that for those $50 that you got, you had to pay around, let's say $40 in total. So you get maybe $10 in profit. And that is considering that you're not using paid ads, right? So $50 on one end, $10 in your pocket, more or less. Although, let's not forget, even that has to be taxed if you want it in your pocket, getting out of your business, right? So this is, I guess, a simple example of how much like actual costs you need to incur to have a product, from someone actually buying it to you getting some profit out of it, right? So it's not that easy, but the main thing is that many of the things in the middle can be more or less like automated. It will require some effort in the beginning, but after that, it's all about just getting traffic to the website, and then you'll have customer service reps, maybe some kind of app, a live chat app on your Shopify store. But coming back to the economics, because this is actually really important. Should you focus more on revenue or on profit? Because if you try to acquire customers, so you get more people to buy your mouse, right? One way to get it is to create organic content. Another way is to spend it on ads. And that's probably the best way to grow. However, there will be a cost associated with it, right? You will have to pay per click for someone to land on the website and buy. And usually it might cost $20, $40. So if we go back to the example from before, we didn't take into account the cost to acquire a customer, right? So if we would also add that, you had $10 profit for that initial sale. Let's say that then you want to scale, so you will pay $20 just to acquire a customer. So that means that you'll be negative $10 instead of positive $10. So you're losing $10. However, that doesn't mean that you're losing money in the long term, right? Because in the short term, you're losing. You're actually paying for someone to buy your product, more or less, if you include all the costs. However, the thing is that once you acquire that customer, you don't just sell him this product, right? Almost every company doesn't just make mouses, right? They make multiple things. They make headphones. The more popular ones make phones, even though it's very expensive to make a phone. Others sell you other stuff, like, I don't know, Temu does, right? They sell everything, almost everything, except the higher end stuff. And basically, even though you're losing money right now, if that person buys again from you, let's say they buy another mouse later on, right? They will pay $50. However, it's more or less profit because you don't need to pay to acquire him anymore. Maybe you have to convince him with email, but let's say that person just liked your product, and because you had a great product and they liked it, they will buy again and you will profit. So that's how most businesses actually make money eventually. They don't really focus on profit in the beginning, but they just focus on revenue, on acquiring new customers while not losing too much, right? Because that is one of the problems here. That's why I wanted to bring this up. When it comes to revenue and profit, you need to make sure that they are balanced, meaning that if you make $1 million, you need to make sure that maybe you don't make any profit, but at least you're not losing $1 million. And that's possible. I mean, probably not if you don't have the funds, because most companies who are high growth actually do this. They spend hundreds of millions, billions of dollars to acquire customers. This is more so in the SaaS world or in the VC world, just like Uber did and all of the big brands that you probably know. They kind of had to burn money for a while. Even Amazon did it, right? However, most of us aren't Amazon. So if we're not building something that's going to have a huge value later on, and if we don't have like huge funds already, like if we're not rich, it's ideally better to actually focus on having some cash pile, just so we are, let's say, at least mentally safe, right? Because that's a thing. Like most of us want to be safe. We want to have some stability, and then when we have enough cash, like it's easier actually to start something. Look at Bezos, right? Like he wasn't poor when he started Amazon. He had some funds. He was actually really well paid. If he wasn't well paid, if he didn't have some funds from around him, then that would have been really hard, right? That's why, for example, a lot of people right now start Shopify brand, because it doesn't cost as much. Sometimes it can cost you maybe 5K, 10K, depending on what you're selling. If you start with, let's say, a drop shipping store, it might cost you exactly in that range, 5 to 10K, to test products and try to find a winning product. And if you find a winning product, it's all about what I just said, trying to make either a profit or at least acquire customers. So more revenue, maybe breaking even. However, you acquire a bunch of customers which you just need to sell again to. And that's when you are able to profit. Then if you sell a third product to those same people, you profit more and more and more. And that's why basically Amazon is where it is right now. It has basically almost everyone in the countries that it operates in. It doesn't operate in all the countries yet. We still have, let's say, Africa as a continent. We still have, I think they are actually in India. So while India is going to grow their GDP, their spend per capita, Amazon will also grow, because almost everyone knows that they can find whatever they want on Amazon. It's reliable, it's cheap, it's fast, and that's their model. However, for most people, probably the best thing is just to make sure that they are always keeping a close eye on revenue and profit, because this is probably one of the most important things with anything. Just tracking it makes it easier to not get on the wrong path, right? There's actually a saying from Charlie Munger, and I'm probably paraphrasing it, but it's easier in life to win if you don't make stupid mistakes instead of being some kind of a genius, right? It's just like making step after step consistently and making sure you just don't fall. If you don't fall, if you don't have a huge loss, then it's much better to just continue growing, because growing is not that hard, let's be honest, right? I mean, make money, save some money, and basically you'll always have more money. Same in business. You acquire customers, you make sure that you're around net profit, some net profit, or let's say break even. And then of course your business will never fail as long as you never lose money. You might not be able to acquire customers at one point, but you can focus on the ones that you have if you've grown the business enough. So I guess this was just a reminder for myself as well to think about revenue and profit, because there are a lot of businesses. I've seen a lot of businesses that didn't really know how to calculate profit. Maybe they were spending too much on ads, and eventually they failed because of that. So this is just a reminder to make sure that we never fail, especially if that isn't the goal, right? Because sometimes you want to take a huge risk and it's either fail or, let's say, it goes to the moon as a business, right? So that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed this video, you can leave a like, and until next time, peace out.